and they generally don't shoot nearly as well. Like Alec Burks hasn't made a shot all season, and then all of a sudden he's raining 3 pointers down on the Celtics for a stretch there. So that was also weird. But yeah, they're not. I know everybody kind of laughed when I think it was when they had lost the 26th straight game. Cade Cunningham said something to the effect of, "We're not a 2-27 team," or whatever it was. Like, we're better than that. And he's right. Like, they are better than that. They just keep finding new and more painful ways to lose every single night out.
Celtics Beat is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Okay, everyone, just a collective. Woo! Okay, that was frustrating. That was not easy. I think Kristaps Porzingis postgame to Abby Chin really said it best when asked about this game, this overtime thriller that never should have been, as the Celtics entered 17-point favorites against the lowly, lousy Detroit Pistons and escaped at the Garden, albeit without Jaylen Brown, I realize, but escaped at the Garden with an overtime victory, 128-122. Fortunately, the overtime was not quite as difficult as the latter moments of regulation. Those were filled with stress, but Porzingis, I think, said it best on NBC Sports Boston when he said, look, when you're good, sometimes you come out a little bit complacent. And that's exactly what we saw with the Boston Celtics against the Pistons, who have now lost, is it 28 straight games, 28,000 straight games? I'm not sure. The Pistons continue to be absolutely terrible, but give them their credit, give them the golf clap, because my God, they put up a fight. Absolutely could have made the Celtics the answer to a trivia question, but the Celtics found a way. They found a way to remain perfect at home, extend their NBA best advantage. And as Evan Valenti, who is here, and Keith Smith is here, as Ev said just before we came on the air, you know what? I'm not sure that's a game Boston wins this time last year. So hats off to the Celtics and their new group, obviously. Kristaps Porzingis was terrific, had some timely buckets. The Celtics, though, you know, I got various texts throughout this game, including right around halftime, two that were on totally opposite sides, guys, and I think you'll appreciate that, and then I'll stop blabbering. One was, what the hell's going on with the Celtics? In fact, it was, what the hell's going on with your Celtics? I take ownership of this group, as you can see by my shirt. What the hell's going on with your Celtics? And I said, this is what happens when you play with your food. That was my response. The other response, or the other text, though, was the group thread of my weeknight gambling show. Celtics are down, 21 points or maybe 19 points at this stage. 21 was the worst it got. And both guys on the thread said, I am investing in the Celtics money line right now. It is plus 190. Take my money. And look, it almost didn't happen, but the Celtics, a good way to invest. We are sponsored by FanDuel, so it seems like a pertinent point to bring up. The Celtics play again tonight, depending on when you're listening to this show. I'm just banking on most people listening to this on a Friday. And so it's a back-to-back. And so this is going to be more of a post-game reflection than this show typically is. Usually it's a bigger picture show, but like I said, I'm going on and on and on. Guys, Keith in particular, let's start with you. What a win, what a survival. Never should have been that difficult, but give the Celtics credit for getting the job done.
Yeah, survival is exactly the right term, because that's what happened here. They messed around the entire first half. The passing was sloppy, the defense was sloppy, the lineup decisions were just bananas. I didn't understand some of them. I was like, whoa, what is happening here? Is this a preseason game that they dropped into the middle of the schedule here with this? And it was just a mess. And then came out on fire in the third quarter. You could tell, I think the Celtics realized, oh crap, we're in a real game now. And then it looked like with a minute or so to go, they had it won. It looked like it was over. And then Jaden Ivey draws a foul on Kristaps Porzingis, makes a layup, becomes a 3-point play. They couldn't get a rebound all night long. That was a major problem with them. It was just a lot of stuff where it looked like the attention to detail, which was so good in the final 3 games of that West Coast trip, really all 4 games. They played pretty well against the Warriors despite the loss. it just wasn't there, and the focus wasn't there when they really needed it to be. But Kristaps Porzingis bailed him out, and this was he's been good all season long, but this was for me his first real. He's here. Like this is what they got him for. He made all those big shots, major 3-pointers. That way he spaces the floor from 4 and 5 feet behind the arc is just huge because it opens up everything. I wish Tatum and Brown would take advantage of it more with the driving lanes, but Holiday and White certainly do. Just big plays from him. White had a stretch where he turned right back into all-star Derrick White again and made a bunch of plays. Holiday had a big 3-point play. Just, all around they found a way. And that's I get it. A lot of people are probably like, they should have destroyed this team. This team stinks. They've lost 28 or 27 straight coming in, but the Celtics found a way, and that is, what really matters in the end. It's another win. You stack another win, you keep moving forward.
I feel like Adam Sandler at the end of Billy Madison, where Steve Buscemi comes in and takes a shot, and that's my feeling about Kristaps Porzingis. It's like, thank God we called that guy because Kristaps was absolutely unbelievable in this game. It proved exactly why you got him to have that quote unquote curveball that Joe Mazzulla was looking for. He's it, man. I mean, the past couple of games, we've seen him post up smaller guys in the mid post, at the nail, in the actual on the either block, and just take advantage of size mismatches. And the fact that this team feels comfortable dumping him the ball and letting him go to work is huge for this team's championship aspirations. I think a lot of people have seen it throughout the past couple of days. The most efficient player out of the post this season in terms of shooting the basketball is Kristaps Porzingis. He just keeps on chugging, man. He was unbelievable. Derrick White, like you said, Keith, also really great in the second half. I think what was really interesting to me, this team's been a terrible third quarter team for most of the time that Jason and Jalen have been around, and recently that's flipped. And again, once again, we saw it flip because Boston really turned it on in the third quarter. Defensively, they were getting into guys. You saw Holiday and White pick guys up three-quarter court, half court, just to make life a little bit more miserable for them. They got into passing lanes. They got steals. They forced turnovers. They got out and ran with the basketball. All things you need to do when you're down 21 points to any team. It starts on the defensive end of the basketball floor, and Boston did that. And they executed, trust me, on the other side too. You don't come back from 21 down if you don't execute on the offensive end, but you have to get turnovers, you have to get stops, you have to get rebounds. And Boston did a great job of doing that in the third quarter and into the fourth quarter. And then again, a little seesaw-y, but Boston was able to hang on. Agree with you, Kaufman. They don't win this game last year, flat out. They just don't. They don't have Kristaps Porzingis, so they might get blown out of this game last year, which would be even more embarrassing. But tomorrow morning, when everybody wakes up and they check the box score on ESPN, it's going to say W for the Boston Celtics, their first overtime win of the season. Don't care who the competition is. It's still going to be a good thing to have, but it's going to be a W. Boston now 15-0 at home, just taking care of business, and you have to get ready, quickly for a Toronto team coming in who, hey, anything can happen, but a team that's not that great, and hopefully we can continue on here. But I do want to give Detroit a little bit of credit for just a second. They played their ass off for 53 minutes. That's a team that did not want to lose 28 games in a row, and they showed it, especially at the end of the game. Bogdanovich, Ivy, Duran, everybody crashing the glass.
They've got some good players. Honestly,
Yeah.
I can't figure out why they're as bad as they are.
Monty.
Hey, yeah, that's a big part of it.
It's
Weird lineups. Like he tonight he played better lineups, but when it started to get away from them at times, you saw he would take guys out at weird moments. The James Wiseman minutes are just a complete waste, and they get Isaiah Stewart was out, but that doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Starting Kevin Knox was a weird thing, and it all worked out pretty good because by all accounts, they probably should have won this game. With how well they played. But yeah, they've got talent. It's just weird mismanagement of a lot of that talent. And they generally don't shoot nearly as well. Like Alec Burks hasn't made a shot all season. And then all of a sudden he's raining 3-pointers down on the Celtics for a stretch there. So that was also weird. But yeah, they're not I know everybody kind of laughed when I think it was when they had lost the 26th straight game. Cade Cunningham said something to the effect of, "We're not a 2-27 team," or whatever it was. Like, we're better than that. And he's right. Like, they are better than that. They just keep finding new and more painful ways to lose every single night out.
So as I've said, bottom line's the win. Doesn't matter how, it matters how many. That's, as the saying goes. And the only thing that I kind of worry about, I just to we'll dovetail back through aspects of this game, but I think the bigger thing, and as we do this show, it's not a full-on post-game report. If you want that, go check out the replay, a Garden Report, or another podcast. This is, we'll again touch on aspects of the game that was just played, and also look ahead to the game that's about to be played against the Raptors, as I've mentioned, and then there are the bigger picture issues. And from a bigger picture perspective, albeit in this little 2-game sample size this week here, hope everyone had a happy holiday, by the way, as we're in that weird period between Christmas and New Year's, obviously, where a lot of people's focus is, families, friends, whatever else, and not as much on sports. So if you're missing this or not paying as close attention, totally understand it. It's sort of a break that people are taking right now. I get it. But for this this was supposed to be the game. I'm saying something very obvious here. This was supposed to be the game the Celtics, cruise to a win, even without Brown, win comfortably, like get up by a ton, maybe survive. Pistons get the backdoor cover, but the Celtics still win by 10 or 15. It's easy. The starters play 25 to 29 minutes. The bench gets a whole lot of work, and you're sort of prepped and ready to go for the Raptors, who, as acknowledged, not a great team, certainly not what they've been, but one that does have talent. Absolutely one that has talent, and guys that, whether it's Barnes or Anunoby or Siakam or so many of these guys that can absolutely give Boston problems. And we don't have an injury report yet for Friday, and inevitably, like, Al Horford's not going to play in that game, but hopefully everybody else is available, including Jaylen Brown. We'll find out. But that, to me, doesn't mean the Celtics are going to go out and lose. That's not what I'm saying. But it's a little troublesome, obviously, that they had to work Keith this hard to beat Detroit. And Tatum plays 43 minutes, D White 38. Although I know these are young guys, they can handle it, but still, Holiday 44. Porzingis 36, which quite frankly is still more than I would like him to be playing. And now they may have another slugfest, another rock fight against Toronto. Yes, you don't have to travel your home, you go sleep in your own beds, all of that. That's good. But I just, this is where, like, from a betting perspective, people would look at tomorrow and call it a trap game, or look at Friday and call it a trap game. I'm not ready to go there. I still, how can you not believe in the Celtics with, a third of the season under our belts, almost a quarter of or a half of the season? But it's still a little bit concerning in terms of what we should expect in this next game.
Yeah, for this next one against Toronto, I kind of expect either everybody plays and they lose, or they do the whole hospital Celtics thing and, like, 8, 9 guys play and they blow Toronto out. Now, Toronto is a
Do
mess
that. I
too.
like that one better.
Right? Yeah, I like that one better too. But I also like the version where everybody plays, they blow them out, and everybody only plays, like, 20 minutes or so.
Right.
I think what's very interesting with the Celtics is it kind of goes back to, and I feel like it's starting to get a little overblown with this is a game they would have lost last year. But this one really felt like a game last season they would have basically said, it's over, and kind of maybe made the fake comeback attempt in the third quarter and got it down to 2 or 3, and then fallen apart and just lost in the fourth. And we would have been sitting here having the conversation like, they played all these guys 40 minutes and they lost. Like, what a waste this was. And so they're just figuring it out. And I think part of what's encouraging too at times is the starting five is obviously incredible when all 5 of them are there. But I'm not as concerned about the depth stuff as other people are, because I'm already, it sounds bad to say this, but I'm already looking at what is this team going to be in April, May, and hopefully June. Like, I
Yeah.
don't, not that I don't care about the rest of the regular season, but they're going to be fine. They're going to get to somewhere in probably the 55-ish win range, and that'll probably be enough for a top seed in the East. And then it's all about the playoffs. So for me, it's, is where's the depth going to be when we get there? And that's why I would like to see added maybe another guy or two that can really get in there, or just trust some of these guys to play a little bit more in some of these games, just so that by the time we get to April, these guys aren't so worn down. They're ready to go. They're ready to play. But I think they're going to be fine. The Toronto game tomorrow, I don't know what to make of it. Maybe they win, maybe they don't. Maybe Jaylen Brown is back and he's plays like Jaylen Brown shot out of a cannon and the Raptors can't handle him. Toronto won their last game and made a whole bunch of shots. That's not something they tend to do 2 nights in a row, or 2 games in a row, I should say. So, but that's kind of a mess. And then the other odd, kind of funny thing is the next Raptors game is against the Pistons. So it's they get the Pistons next with a chance to break the schneid.
Well, I think the big thing you talked about, like Jaylen shot out of a cannon. I think we need first quarter Jaylen to just sort of take the pressure off of everybody else. That would go a long way. Give the Celtics an early 8-10 point lead. He has 8-10 first quarter points, whatever it is, and just sort of get them out of the gate strong, like you said. But I think what you acknowledged, in like, none of us sitting here, if you're watching the show on YouTube, listening to the show wherever you get your podcast, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff, we appreciate it. The thing that we've talked a lot about on this show in the past, we spent some time on it with Dan Greenberg last show, and Lord knows how many times it's come up, but I don't want this to be one of those, and I've always said this about the Celtics, really, especially since Brad Stevens' arrival. And I don't mean as president of basketball operations, I mean his arrival, like a decade plus ago at this point. I'm enjoying the process, especially the fact that they are, well, not completely, but where it matters most, homegrown in terms of, obviously, their top two players, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I enjoy watching them come from what, all the different versions of what they've been to, obviously, where we hope they will go. And I like Keith, that people look at this team at this point and say, look, if you're healthy, it's championship or bust for the Celtics. Literally nothing else should be satisfying. Not like getting to the finals and losing, but hey, you made it like a couple years back against the Warriors. No, you got to freaking win the thing. You're primed, you're ready. These guys are have more than enough playoff experience under their collective belts. Like, youth is no excuse. There are no excuses. They're the built-in injury excuses if they happen. We hope they won't. And just stay healthy and get there and get the job done, because, as you eventually fall back, other teams are going to rise. That works. Title windows just seem to shrink faster and faster for teams as time goes on. And so where I'm going with all this is, you talk about, like, how much does the rest of the regular season really matter and ready for spring? I think ultimately what it comes down to is there's nothing this team has left to prove or can prove until the playoffs. There is nothing during the regular season it can do that will be even remotely relevant in the bigger picture until the spring. Like, short of not losing another game the rest of the season, setting some sort of a record, which we don't expect, obviously, this team cannot show who it is and what it's made of until we get to really even May or June, like skip April. And so that's what I think. You don't want this to be like the way we took advantage of the Patriots dynasty for
Yep.
20 years, where it was, it was like, wake me, not even wake me when they get to the playoffs. It was wake me when they get to the AFC Championship game. Like, it's not good enough unless you get a first round bye and all of that stuff. I don't want the Celtics to become that for people. I want people to enjoy this, because this, maybe tonight notwithstanding, is a hell of a lot of fun on a nightly basis. But that's pretty much where we're at in the aggregate of it all.
Disagree.
Yeah, I look sorry, I just look at it as big picture. You're absolutely right, but take joy in the steps to get there. Like I still watch every game, enjoy every game, right? And just to take joy, in some of these games where they're out there and they're murdering a team and they're up by 28 and they're just, throwing half court alley oops and stuff. Enjoy it, have fun with it, love it, live it up. Like that's what it is. That's the night to night stuff. It's for me, I always think about like it's a great comp with the Patriots. It was a point where the end of the first real run, right? When it was really that undefeated lost season, right? Where they lost that Super Bowl to the Giants.
Oh,
And maybe
seven,
it stung because I was there in person and I'll never
yeah.
forgive myself for spending that kind of money on, going there. But it was, I, I stopped taking joy in the team for years after that, where I was like, I don't care. Just win another Super Bowl. I don't care about any of this other stuff. And then I remember having the conversation with my dad, who grew up on the Patriots. I mean, I did to some extent too, but he really did. Where it's like, oh yeah, it's 6-10, not so good. 7-9. Hey, at least we didn't lose 10 games this year. He was, excited when they were just an okay team. And I remember the conversation I had with him is first it was, you can't let this make you this miserable every day after they lose, because it's ridiculous. Like, grow up, you're not a part of the organization. And then his second part was, you have to enjoy the regular season wins. Otherwise, none of this is worth it. Like, you're investing all this time just to walk away saying they won. That's all I care about. Doesn't matter. Losses suck. Wins don't really matter. And he's like, just enjoy it. And then I really sat back and thought about it. And then after they won that Falcons comeback, I was like, whatever. This is all gravy now. I mean, this is now the most absurd thing that's ever going to happen with this team. And that's kind of where I'm at with the Celtics minus a title, right? Go get a title with this group. And then all the rest, like, let's see where it goes from there. And it's funny, I very facetiously tweeted last night after the Thunder beat the Timberwolves, like, Celtics and everybody else better get a title in the next couple of years, because Oklahoma City's coming to take the rest of them. And of course, people had to overreact because you can't have any fun on social media. That's not allowed. But it was, I was just like, man, like, yeah, let's go get one. But I'm with it. Like, there's no real excuses there, but I'm still enjoying every single game that they play.
Yeah, the J-Dub was outrageous in that game. That was a fun.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he was just
Casual 36, whatever it was.
he
Yeah.
was on one. He was on one that night. But I do want to push back on, like, who cares? Like, until the playoffs. Like, the process matters. Like, going through the motions matters, and getting and forming good habits matters. Kaufman, you and I talked about this pre-show, I think before Keith even got here. I hated the last shot they took in regulation. That was a terrible shot. I get why they did it. Tatum has to be the hero. Totally understand. It was a bad shot. It wasn't a good shot. If they had tried a little bit harder, I think it was Porzingis was cut into the basket on the right side, right next to Tatum, was going to have a wide open lane for a layup. But regardless of that, what I did like was when they got in overtime. What's the first thing they did? They got in overtime. They get the ball to Kristaps Porzingis. Because, like, you know what they got to do? We got to start this overtime period. We got to start out ahead. So they dump the ball to Porzingis, go to work. They get up to real quick. I like the fact that this team down points, knew they had to come back with defense, and also by speeding the game up. How many hit-ahead passes did Tatum hit in this game? 3, 4 for easy layups for guys? Or how many hit-ahead passes they have in the second half? Like 6 or 7? That's good. That's how you steal baskets. You get easy points. That's how you chip away at big leads. Defensively locking down, try and steal some advantages when you can, and a little bit at a time. You're not going to shoot it all back at once. You're not going to shoot a cajillion threes and get yourself back in this game. Past Celtics teams would just keep shooting threes. This team didn't. They got easy baskets. Tatum, again, as much as you want to kill him for the last shot, which they will, he did a great job getting a mismatch, going to the post, and trying to get layups, trying to go to the free throw line. He's working a little bit quicker now with trying to put guys in the torture chamber, especially when he's got a matchup that he likes.
Devin, guys are doing a better job setting him up too when he gets to the post. They're not missing that.
Right.
anymore. That was a pass that I felt like they missed a lot. He'd come in on those duck-ins or those cross screens, get to the low block, and then the pass just wouldn't be there. The ball would already be moving to the other side of the floor. And that's fine sometimes, because sometimes he's the misdirection, but they are doing a better job finding him. I want to say one other thing. I didn't mind the last shot only because of the way the Pistons defended it. If you go back and watch, they had, I think it was Cade Cunningham who was on him, and he pressed up on him, and then they brought both guys pinched in. He wasn't going to the basket. They're just he would have had to bulldoze through guys to try to get there. And at that point, there wasn't a lot of time left. He's probably not getting a call going downhill like that. So I didn't mind that shot. It was better than the let me catch it 4 feet behind the line, take 87 dribbles and then launch a contested step back. I'll take, the tight mid-ranger over that. But I'm with you though. And the pace too. They played with such good pace tonight, like in the second half. That's the thing I've been hammering on all season. When they play with pace, they are great. And they're almost unstoppable offensively because they have a whole group of really smart decision makers, and anybody can shoot. And I don't mind when they push the ball up, somebody drives to the basket, draws in the whole defense, and then it's almost like they pitch it out without looking, and they just know Horford, Porzingis, Brown, Tatum, somebody will be there as the trailer, and then that's a fine 3-pointer to me. I don't have a lot of issues with those kind of shots when they take them, but tonight, yeah, they got downhill. Even what was the go ahead before the overtime, the goaltend, which replay I think held up. It was a goaltend. That was Tatum on the block. Right, like he got down there and worked inside to get there. Now Cade was all over that lefty spin shot after seen it a couple times. So and he's a very special player. He's really starting to think, win a lot of people over to what he can be. But yeah, I thought their process was great tonight. And you're right, Evan. That does get built through the 82 games, right? Like that doesn't happen. Just show up and play the playoffs, and you're not going to know what you are. Like these games are important. I just get it. I understand when people are like, yeah, but I don't really care if they go 76-6 and lose in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like that doesn't matter to me. But as far as how you get there, these games do matter for that.
In the spirit of building upon, hey, this game matters. And obviously, like the three of us, we're not former professional athletes. We're sure as hell not future professional athletes. But we'll speak to this.
So
Yeah, I will comfortably.
Yeah, don't sell me out yet, man. I
Yeah,
might figure it out yet. I'm
that's
only
true.
45.
Can we become cornhole players?
I got cornhole in the basement set up right here, man. Look, I got it all ready to go. We're good to go.
Yeah, there you go. See, that's on the table.
Pickleball's taking off. That doesn't take a whole lot of athleticism.
All right, I'll just shut my mouth.
That's right.
Can I get on that holy moly show? Be a
There it
professional mini golfer? Yeah, I guess maybe our windows aren't quite closed yet, but we'll speak to this to the degree that we can. I mentioned obviously that Thursday's effort may very well cost them a win on Friday. Hopefully that's not the case, but it's entirely possible. I think it wouldn't shock any of the three of us, or probably many of the people listening or watching. That being said, how valuable, Keith, do you think it was to go through this game, to fall behind by 21 against a vastly inferior team, come back, win it, be pushed to overtime, survive, get the job done in the long run versus steamrolling the Pistons like so many other teams do, and you move on to Friday?
Yeah, I think it's big. You want to play these games now, maybe not against the Pistons, but in some ways it doesn't matter who it comes against. This was a game where they executed well in the clutch. They did well in regulation. They did well, obviously, throughout the course of overtime, because they got the other. It was a little in the balance at points in overtime too. And then what I liked was when they got the lead in overtime, they just kept going. They didn't then, hey, let's walk it up and let's shoot with 20 after 22 seconds are gone. Like they just played basketball all the way through the last maybe minute, but that was the foul game and all the other stuff. So that part I'm not worried about, but that's big. Yeah. You want to be able to come away. I mean, they were 0-3 in overtime going into this game this season. So you want to be able to come back and show we can win when we're in this spot. And I get it. The naysayers are going to say, oh yeah, against the Pistons, but that part, that's almost kind of irrelevant, because once you're in it, you're in it. It doesn't really matter who you're playing. You're there. You got to get the win, and they did.
Yeah,
And before we move on to some other things, I mentioned obviously, you could have bet the Celtics to win this thing at halftime if you had the confidence they'd come back. I think it was right around plus 190, plus 200 on the money line. So nice little payday if you took advantage betting there on FanDuel. Let's shout out our sponsors.
Yeah, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, and let me tell you, folks, it is getting to be one of the best times of the year to be in on all the action. Score anytime this NFL season with FanDuel, and in the NBA season as well with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Let me do that one more time. Any winning $5 money line bet, one more time. It's 150
How
bucks.
many more times?
150 dollars in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. Again, just if your team wins. That's all you got to do. Like if you pick against the Pistons 27 straight times, you would be winners in all of these. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel. There's no better time than right now. You get in on the action, and you say that kind of because the Pistons just keep on losing, and there's free money to go around just all the time. So just get in on the action now with FanDuel. Go to the app or go to the website, FanDuel.com, and just take a look and see where you can take advantage of certain teams like the Detroit Pistons, who just continue to lose games. I've been trying to throw out $5 moneyline winners for the past couple of weeks for people when it comes to NBA odds. And because we're recording so late at night, not all of them are available right now. I'm looking at the C's line. It's minus 590 for tomorrow night, boys. I don't think that's worth it. I just really don't.
No.
I'm
No,
not.
throw,
I'm
throw
not in
that
on
money
that.
line parlay or mix that with like Celtics minus 590 as well as, Tatum 20 plus points, Brown 20 plus points, you get yourself somewhere closer to even money. But yeah, no, you never want to invest in just minus 600 on the money line. Don't do that.
They'll give you the winner for tomorrow, though. The
What's
winner
the
is
spread?
The winner is Denver. I'll give that in a minute. The winner tomorrow night is going to be Denver. Denver's going to host the Thunder. It's going to be a great game, but Denver at home, very, 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 very tough to beat this year.
Back to back though.
What's up?
Back to back though.
It's all right. I'm confident in what I believe is the best player in the world, in Nikola Jokic. After they just absolutely took the Memphis Grizzlies to the woodshed. I don't know if the game's over, but I got 116.89 right now.
No John Morant right before the game too, though.
Yeah. So it happens. So again, Denver didn't waste too much energy. If you back to the Raptors, Celtics, Raptors plus 10.5, by the way, just so people are aware of that. But again, just some winners for you, just so you can get your $1.50 in bonus bets, and then you can start making some real money with FanDuel, with spreads, the player props, over-unders, literally everything you want to bet, you can bet on FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston. Kick off the NFL season, tip off the NBA season with FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Massachusetts. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame moneyline wager required. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues now. Travel bonus bets expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Hope is here. GamblingHelplineMA.org. Or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com or call 1-800-GAM-1234.
Keith, with this, even before we move on to this next game against the Raptors, talk a little bit more about it. But again, we've been kind of going back and forth. But I feel like not a show can go by where we don't have at least an appreciation moment or two for Derrick White. He is just, continuing to be all of the things that Ev here felt he would be this season and more. I don't think anyone quite saw this coming, to where people are throwing around, not even facetiously, the idea of Derrick White All-Star. Now, I don't believe that's going to happen just because I think the
Derrick White's him, dude. Did you see the sign?
I did, yeah. I think the numbers will work against him, but look, I mean, the man's played great, and if we're to talk about specifically the performance against the Pistons, I like that, it's, I don't know, players are superstition or whatever, just got to shake things up. Slow start, the red shoes, moves to the blue, goes nuclear for the rest of the game. He was awesome. And he is showing, Keith, on a nightly basis, something people know 30 games in, and if you watched it all last season for that matter, this is not a new thing, it's just sort of heightened this year, is this guy is such a big part of winning. I hate to go back and use the whole Marcus Smart impacts winning thing, but we also at the time often, at least on this show, said Derrick White is in many ways, I mean, obviously a very different player than Marcus Smart, but in many of those sort of intangible ways, a Marcus Smart clone. To the way that they could be kind of interchangeable. Again, help you in very different ways. They had different strengths, different weaknesses, but in many ways could be interchangeable. And we're obviously seeing that this year with Smart gone and White's role getting not only bigger, but just so much more impactful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of the people on the Christmas game. I tweeted, he's an all defense guy and he's an all-star. And I didn't tweet that just, having fun. I tweeted it because I believe it. I think, he's not going to get voted in as a starter. That's not going to happen. He's not going to have the publicity and the love. And that's, even though they've changed it to some extent, it's still a popularity contest. So that's not going to happen. But I think there's a good chance when the coaches sit down and look at it, they tend to prioritize people who come from winning teams, and they're going to look at it and say, yeah, this guy's made my life hell going against him. I'm going to figure this out. Right. And that's where I think he has a real chance, because he is just tough. There was a play late in this game. Jaden Ivey came down on a break. He pushed Derrick White in the back, and then Derrick White somehow still blocked his shot at the rim. He is the best defensive guard in the NBA right now, and it's not even close, because you can go to the blocks and the steals, and those are there. Those are there. He averages more than one a game of each of those. And one block a game for the guys like 6'4" is absolutely absurd. But all of if you go into the advanced stuff and closest defender metrics and all of those stuff, he's tops and all that stuff too. Like, he is unbelievable. And then offensively, could he score more? Yeah, probably. Does he need to? Nope. Could he get more assists? Yeah, probably. Does he need to? Nope. He just does what he's asked to do. He is the most plug and play guy I think this team has added in years, as far as just, he came and immediately started making an impact when they traded for him. He is why Brad Stevens felt okay with trading Marcus Smart, because now it looks like in retrospect, we got Drew Holiday too. They didn't have him then. It was because they had Derrick White. That's why he felt okay. I'm still going to have Derrick White, who can do my thing as that defensive leader in the backcourt, playmaker, all the other stuff. And I think if you really could get True Serum Port over there in Boston, you would hear he's also a more reliable shooter. He's a little less likely to go completely freelance crazy at a moment where it's completely uncalled for. And I love Marcus Smart and always will, for everything that he brought to the Celtics. But yeah, I mean, Derrick White is really good. It felt like Christmas. It was me and JJ Redick against the world on this All-Star thing, because everybody was hammering the two of us. But I stand, hey, if I'm going to be on the side with somebody, JJ Redick's not a bad person to be on the side with.
Derrick White's perfect. He's just the
Great.
best. And he's literally, he's taking the place of Marcus Smart, but he's just better. Just better. He doesn't overdo anything. He doesn't feel like he has to prove himself, or those late Marcus Smart shots and shot clocks that you're like, why did he do that? Like, it just flows better with Derrick White on the floor. And I hate to say that, because I love Marcus so much. And Marcus had a terrific night the night against the New Orleans Pelicans. And that made me so happy to watch Marcus Smart do Marcus Smart things again. But man, Derrick White's more reliable. He's just way more reliable. He's way headier. And, whether he's an all-star or not, to me, it doesn't matter. Like, outside of people that watch the Celtics on a daily basis and people that watch, the Celtics whenever they play, in terms of they play their team. Like we all appreciate Derrick White for what he brings to the game every day. I mean, I don't know. Did we get a confirmation on? I know Scal asked the legendary Dick Lipe for the stat. Has guard ever blocked two shots a game for 6 straight games? That ever happened? I didn't hear what they said. I just know that Scal threw the challenge out there to Dick Lipe to find that out. I'm sure Dick has found the stat already, and I'm sure we're just missing it. But he's a special player, man. He's just really special. He impacts all sorts of winning plays. He never gives up. He's never he's never in the wrong place at the wrong time. How about at the end of the game when Porzingis the 3-point line, everybody's spread out except for Derrick White, who's in the middle of the paint, wide open, and Porzingis just with a two-hand, just right to him, right there, easy. I mean, again, this team makes so much more sense than any of the Celtics teams that we've seen in the past. Everybody has a part. Derrick White wears several hats throughout the game. It's incredible how he can go from defensive specialist to spot up 3-point shooter to I need to run the offense to I'm the backdoor cutter. Like he just whatever hat you need just throws it on, does it, and then changes it out for something else. Like he's amazing. And he's a chameleon out there. It's incredible. And I am so happy he's getting a lot of the press lately. Like everybody's talking about how awesome Derrick White is. Like I was listening to Chris Vernon on the mismatch with KOC, and Vernon's like pissed off that everybody just calls Derrick White underrated because he's finally getting the proper acknowledgement that he's deserved. And now he's also playing the best basketball of his life. Like I know we all want to go back and be like, oh, he wasn't this guy with the Spurs. He didn't shoot this well. He's shooting out of his mind right now. Like his improvements from the 3-point line from when he got to Boston to now are staggering. The confidence, the volume, the percentage are all way up. Part of it's Derrick, part of it's, the coaching. It's all collectively come to an awesome head where we're literally talking about Derrick White being an all-star. And we're not being facetious here. We're not being ridiculous. There's a legitimate case to be made. He's the best guard on the best team in the league. Means something. I don't know what it means, but certainly means something. And I'm just glad he's getting recognition because he's just every night nails every single night.
Well, I mean, you use the word reliable. I'll use another one that's essentially the same thing, consistent. I think that's sort of the difference between Derrick White versus Marcus Smart, Kristaps Porzingis versus Rob Williams. You have a starting 5 and 6, really, when you include Al Horford, obviously. And Brogdon, don't get me wrong, he was 6th man of the year. I get it. His acumen was inflated by an absurd 3-point percentage that was, a huge outlier to the rest of his career. And you're right back to seeing it this year in Portland, even though in other ways he's having a good year, but whatever, that's not the point. The point is your top 6 right now is just a more consistent group than what we've had around here in a long time. And I know we're only looking at a 30-game sample size, and heaven forbid somebody suffers an impactful injury. There are going to be absences, rest nights, the load management, or, a nagging this and nagging that. But as Keith said before, and as we've said many times on this show, if we get this group, especially those 6, and then obviously Pritchard, Hauser, they're important, but in particular, that top 6. If you have that group healthy come April, and you can maintain it, you can bottle that up for a couple of months, month and a half, whatever it is, then yeah, I mean, we all have a quite the right to be excited around here. And it's been a lot of fun to watch. So I think that's the big thing, consistency above all else. And so I'm just glad, Keith, they've found it.
Yeah, me too. I feel like there's a lot of things that feel different about this team. It just feels like they're more consistent with this. It feels like everyone, not that they weren't fully bought in years past, but it feels like this group is really bought in. And it feels like you've got Porzingis is like, I'm not saying anything he hasn't said. Like, this is a dream for him. Like this is all he's ever wanted in his career. And I think you've got guys like Horford is like it's now or never. Like so, it's if I get to make that extra hustle play and that little bit extra effort, it's going to get given. And I think the other part too, if we go away from just the kind of intangible stuff, is in the last few runs, if Tatum or Brown was having a bad night, you kind of were like, who's gonna step up to help? I didn't always feel confident in Brogdon last year. In years before that, it was probably going to be Smart was going to try to do it, and it didn't always go well because that wasn't going to be Rob. That wasn't what he did. Grant Williams obviously stepped forward a handful of times, that huge game in Milwaukee, without a doubt. But now it feels like, all right, things are a little messy with either Tatum or Brown. All right, we'll throw it to Porzingis. Okay, let Drew Holiday do some stuff. All right, hey, let's let Derrick White, make a couple runs here at things. And it just feels different. It just feels like they're very, very hard to figure out. And it felt like the defense was always going to be good enough, but it was going to be, is there going to be enough offense? And I finally feel like we're in a spot with this group where the offense should be there. They're going to have bad shooting games, but even in their bad shooting games this year, we've seen they do have some other stuff that they go to. Does it take too long to go to it? Yeah, probably. I think we can all say that, but they can get to it. And that's the important thing.
Well, look at the Lakers game on Christmas Day. They shot 31% from the 3-point range, and the Lakers shot 41%, and the Celtics won by 11. That doesn't happen in past iterations. This team flat out does not happen. They shoot 31% from 3-point range. They lose by 20. And especially if the other team's shooting 40%. This is, again, we're all kind of collectively pieces. Like this is a little bit different. This team is significantly different than past versions of it. And like again, we get back to the who cares until the play? Like I'm not getting bogged down in that conversation because again, I think 1 of 82, all of this matters, and all this stuff, all these habits, all these little things, all of this matters. All the Derrick White chase down blocks, like it's going to come to a point where teams are going to account for him just flying out of nowhere for blocks and be a little more scared to try and take it to the rack. Or Kristaps Porzingis has been a rim deterrent this year. Very obvious he is. So people are going to have different, like after you put 82 games together and that's all on tape, people are going to try and formulate around that. And Boston, I think, has enough answers to the test where you're like, oh, instead of doing this, we'll try this. Boston's going to be like, well, we'll just do this instead. And you're not going to be like, this is Brad Stevens over the last 3 years has had to make some really hard decisions, and they've all paid off, all of them. And here we are now on the end of 2023, the beginning of 2024, and you can say pretty definitively, since Brad has taken over, this team has just to the roof. And I couldn't be more excited about what's coming next because, like, again, they have some decisions to make coming up. Keith, you're well aware of all of them. The Drew Holiday extension coming up, the Derrick White extension coming up.
Both of them, yeah.
Yeah, they're both coming up. And they're going to
Drew White dilemma.
Yeah, we talked about this last week with Greeny and, with Wick, saying in the past, I'll pay into the tax to the right team. This is the right team. And the Drew Holiday extension comes up in February? What is the date on that, Keith? You'll know better than we do.
Yeah, it's in April, I think.
April.
It's a little later than that. And we'll see if he extends or if he just lets it go into free agency. And I'm sure there's already, even though there shouldn't be, there's already been conversations. So I'm sure everybody kind of knows where all that stands. And I thought it was really encouraging. It was during I can't remember what game it was, the Clippers game, maybe. But that was an afternoon game, right? So Wick was on the broadcast, and he said they asked him about Jaylen Brown and the big extension. And I thought it was incredibly encouraging that his answer was, hey, if you're not going to do that, you can't own the Boston Celtics. And I thought that more than anything, like fans should take that and run with it because that's huge. And I was as critical of them as anything for cheaping out and doing all this stuff when it was like, you just got to invest in the team. Go one, step closer and all these things. And now, hand up, I was probably wrong, and they've made the right decisions. And we'll see. Would I like to have seen them keep Grant Williams? Sure. But I don't know if you keep Grant Williams. I don't know if then it's like, do we do the Drew Holiday trade? And does that start to waffle and get messy? So I'm fine with it. Move. We'll see if they use the TPE or not. We'll see how they go about adding, another guy or two to the bench. We'll see what that looks like. They're very limited in what they can do, because I wouldn't touch the top, 7, 8 guys in this rotation. I would leave them all intact the way they are, and it would have to be adding without subtracting one of those guys. So I'm not sure where they go. And then, long term, it's going to be some difficult conversations. And in order for this team to stay together, they're going to have to win a title. You just can't. They will not keep this group together as is if they don't win a championship. And that's probably the right decision. But what they've put themselves in position to be able to do is cycle through to the next group of guys, cycle through to the next group of guys. And that's important too. That's how you sustain staying in contention, even if it is literally killing all of us that they haven't broken all the way through. But you just got to believe that is going to come.
Then just keep the seat warm until the Thunder arrive.
That's it, man. That's it. You only got a couple more years, and better figure it out, because those guys are coming.
Well, it's this was good. This is a fun show, and it hit on a lot. Obviously, after a fun win, as Keith said before we even came on, this could have been a very different show in terms of just a level of anger about a loss to the Pistons that, in the bigger picture, wouldn't have meant anything. It just would have, in the moment, been incredibly frustrating. So I'm glad we didn't have that. We were able to take that on a much happier note, and maybe even use it as another building point for this organization, the season of so many, as they roll on, and hopefully they can take this game on Friday again, maybe tonight, depending on when you're listening, against the Toronto Raptors, and just keep this perfection at home going and winning streak going as well. But boys, ton of fun. If I don't talk to you again in the next couple of days, Happy New Year, obviously, and more Celtics talk in 2024, maybe even Banner 18.